Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Base Live. I just got a slew of y'all trying to get into our Facebook group. So I'm going to approve all of you really quickly before we get started here. While we're waiting for everyone to join, Trish, hello, welcome, welcome. Thank you for
Liz,
today.
hello. So good to be here. Thank you.
We have been trying to get something on the calendar for Trish to join a Base Live, I think since last year, since
Yeah,
last fall, right?
I thought about that too today. We go back a ways, and
We do.
here we are.
And Trish has a wonderful book, her wonderful book as well that you so kindly sent over, which is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Like she has time to read it, but it's
Of
a quick
course I
read.
do. You know what? I think I've said this on another Base Live, but while I watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse with my kids, that's my reading time. So I've actually surprisingly have more time than most moms. So it's been great. Okay, I see some more people hopping on. I'm going to give everyone just a couple minutes. And while you're here, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're watching from today. We always love to see where everybody is watching from. See if we have any repeat folks. Some more people just hopped on. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, well, I'm going to do some quick introductions and housekeeping items while everyone hops on. I am Liz Prue, VP of Marketing here at Base, the first ever platform built for assistants. And Base Live is a free weekly show that we put on here in our Facebook community and our YouTube channel for assistants to learn from leaders like our guest Trish here today, different influencers in the space, wellness leaders. We kind of cover it all because we believe that and Trish is going to talk about this today, your mental and physical health is just as important as those administrative skills that you nurture for your roles. So we really try to prioritize that here at Base. And today, for today's Base Live, we have Trish Stadler. And the topic for today is how to create a climate to thrive in. And for those of you that haven't met Trish before, she is a seasoned administrative professional and certified coach, published author, podcaster, blogger, and speaker. And she's supported top level leaders for over 30 years. She's passionate about improving the lives of executive assistants personally and professionally. And Trish really loves what she does and loves to pass on her experience as the role of an EA and how that evolves and becomes more significant to the leaders of today. Trish, I'm going to go ahead and toss it to you to add on to that introduction at all before we really dive in today.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Liz. And I actually got emotional because I'm so passionate about this role and I'm looking at all the people chiming in from all over the place. And it's just amazing how the EAs of today are really embracing this role and giving themselves the time because time is money. So they're investing in themselves and taking an hour out of their day to listen to whatever Base is putting out there every week. And I'm just honored and privileged to be here. I can certainly get into a little bit more about me. I'm not sure when you go backstage or if I should just go and keep going, because once I start talking, I just keep going because I just love talking about this role. I talk about it every day. Yeah, every day.
That's why we love you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, then I'll go ahead and go backstage. But guys, as for those of you that have been here before, feel free to drop your questions in the comments. We'll be encouraging discussion throughout too. So know that we will have time for Q&A. So keep dropping them in the comments. I'll be collecting them so that way Trish has questions to answer at the end. And then for those of you, I saw Big Bump just jumped on about this event. So understanding what work environment you thrive in is crucial to your success. And Trish is really going to dive into that through this discussion. So welcome to those that just joined, and I'll go ahead and go behind the virtual curtain, and I'll let you go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much, Liz, and thank you and your whole team for everything you're doing for the EAs of today. I'm just crazy about Base. Okay.
We love it. Thank you.
I will get going here. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Look at this. She just disappears, and here comes my slides, and I'm going to do my best to keep up with everything here. First, I think it's important. Liz did a good job of introducing me and giving a little bit of background. I always like to know about the person that's talking to me so I can feel a better connection. So I'll dive a little deeper. As she said, I did the executive assistant thing for 30 plus years, and I loved it. I've hated it. I triumphed. I travailed. I did it all, and I am so proud of the role of the executive assistant. I shouted from the rooftops. I then parlayed that as I was working full time. I took a coaching course, which ended up, I always thought it was going to be a plan B, and it is now my plan A. But it helped me so much, just taking the course and some coaching skills to help me interact with the humanity that we're faced with on a day-to-day basis. I ended up writing a book about my 30-year journey because I had so many experiences. I experienced just about everything you can, and I thought it was worth writing it out in a little book as a gift to the executive assistant community, and it's there for you to enjoy if you like. It's on Amazon. It's a quick read, a glass of wine or a cup of tea, and you'll be done with it. But I think you'll get some gems from there. I just started a podcast. I do write blogs when I feel strongly about something, and I'll let my voice be heard, whether it be in the EA realm or the coaching realm. I love horses, as you could see, and I parlayed some of my coaching practice with using horses because they're very magical. So if you're ever in New Jersey, hit me up and I'll put you in the round pen and we'll fix whatever ails you. I'm married to a surfer and I am a dog mom. I'm madly, madly passionate about the role of the executive assistant. I live in New Jersey, near the Jersey Shore, so we can go surfing, and we live near a bunch of horse farms too. So I have the best of both worlds. I have a good life, and it helps me in what I do to thrive. So on that topic of a climate to thrive, the reason why this means so much to me is because I've been in climates where I was not able to thrive. Oops, I think I just froze. There I am. I've been so I was able to thrive. The difference in the climate where I was able to thrive and the one where I wasn't able to thrive, I steered the ship in that thriving environment. I took action because I saw that there was things in place that were old school thinking toward the role of the EEA, and I felt I needed to make some changes, and I'll get into that a little bit more. But in the scenario where I did not thrive, and I write about it at the end of my book, it was actually rather devastating for me because I relocated for the job and I made a lot of changes, and within 3 weeks I was coming home. So I actually tapped into a coach. As a coach, I felt I needed a coach to help me work through this. And in laying out the pillars in which I was working within, it became clear that there was nothing in place really for me to succeed. The result was all it could be. And that made me think about, well, that's not going to happen again. And what can I do to change that? So it's something that I feel very strongly about, that if you're currently in a very woke company, because there are a lot of them out there, so this is just going to be stuff where you say, I'm checking off the boxes, that I'm in a good place. Or you're going to say, nope, that's not happening for me. We're going to just look at what we can do as the EA to create that climate. Now, I put some simple things here because, we do these catchy phrases. And even when I was preparing the PowerPoint, I'm like, climate to thrive. What do you mean by that? Well, first, the climate itself of, anyone knows the climate of their company. It could be the climate of your boss. A lot of times you might get a call from somebody that says, what's the climate down there today? And I'll say, it's a little cloudy, but the overall climate of the company, as far as how they are perceiving the role of the executive assistant. So it's really the second definition here, the prevailing trend or the public opinion of that role. Because if one person feels that it's a very critical key role in the organization, that's great, but we need all the stakeholders to look at it that way. So, and to thrive, of course, is to grow or develop vigorously, prosper, flourish. Those words just feel so good even when I say them out loud. If you were able to do that within your work environment, wouldn't that be lovely? So, pertaining to weather, of course, we can't control the climate there, but we can control the climate in which we work. It's not the end of the world if you feel that your company isn't providing this climate. There's certain things that we can change to make sure we can grow. So let's take a look at some of those things. The first thing is, what's the climate that you have about the role? You have to look at that. And who are you? I often start this presentation out with who I am. And you saw I have some pretty clear things of what I'm doing and what I'm about today. And I also have an example of the branding I did for myself when I was in the role of the executive assistant, because I felt this is really important to know, first of all, who we are. Who are we inside? What are we bringing to the party before we're going to go out there and say, hey, well, I want to make some changes here. I think it's really good to lock and load into who we are as an executive assistant. And I think in order to thrive, the better we know who we are, what's our brand? What do people think about when they interact with me? What are my strengths? What am I known for in the company? It just helps you stand apart from the others. It gives you direction, because without direction, you might be just kind of aimlessly trying to make your point about something. The employees and your colleagues will know you and know what to expect from you. It equals a promise. I am that, and I will do that. So let me give you an example of when I did this. And afterwards, I'll make sure Base has some helpful material for you to work with if you are struggling with creating your brand, because it can be hard to write about yourself. I know that. But I think a lot of people are picking up on that. One of my favorite things to read is the little descriptor on LinkedIn now. You very rarely will see, I'm an executive assistant. It's like, I am a chaos calmer and a this and a that. Like here, I am a seasoned executive assistant and calendar wizard, onboarding expert, mentor, and coach, excellent at relationship building, excel on solo projects as well as working with a team, a passion for employee engagement and community service. I am that, and I will do that. So I knew my strengths. I often say, we as EAs have these tasks that sometimes you'll hear some of the EA gurus out there kind of put that calendar, expenses, travel in a way that it's just so mundane. And I say, no. Those three tasks take strategic thinking. We are ninjas when it comes to doing calendars. The impact of a good calendaring wizard will make a difference in your executives, day to day, in the company's bottom line. Are you saving them money? Are you making the most efficient use of the executive's time? These are key things to be experts at, and most of us are. And there's many that say, I wouldn't want to do your job for anything. I've heard that many times, which just goes to tell me how integral we are to an executive and a company organization. We are pivotal. So creating your brand is something I highly recommend. It feels good to do it. You own it, and I'm happy to provide a worksheet, which is a lot of fun because you're actually going to pass it out to some of your colleagues, a friend, and they're just going to answer some questions about you. And it's really enlightening, and it's joyful to see all the positive things. And that will help you kind of cobble some things about yourself to create your brand. So here we are, the culture of the company, the climate of the company. I was working at a big global tech company, and this is where I kind of came up with this idea that, hey, I can make a difference. And I'll always say this, and you've probably all heard this: if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So I asked, I would ask questions. But when I realized there was probably an issue, because I came into this company as a career EA supporting a C-suite, and I knew I had a lot of skills to bring to my role, but there were certain people, certain stakeholders that weren't really interested in the EA doing more than what they were hired to do. And the job description was very inaccurate as far as the types of skills that I was bringing and that I was using. And I worked hard to get that changed, which is one of the things that I'll talk about, where HR comes into this, and we really ask them to relook at how they're making the job descriptions all under one bucket, when, you know, depending on who you're supporting, they should vary. It said something about, it started off with 2 to 3 years experience, which is applicable to somebody coming in that's fairly new to this, and you have to start somewhere, so that does serve a purpose. But I came in with well over 15 years experience, and the job description didn't match my skills, yet the salary band matched that job description. Do you see where that's a problem? It's a problem for my executive that wants to give me a pretty good increase, but he's stuck in this band. So we have to take a pulse of the leadership team, which are part of the stakeholders that will have a say in how the executive assistant role turns into something more of a position like other roles within the company org. The roadmap, is there a roadmap for them to grow? And my talk is always about growing within your role. There certainly is nothing wrong with growing out of your role, if that's your thing and that's what you want to do. Most of these things will apply for that too, because apply to that mindset as well. There's certainly nothing wrong with wanting to step out of the role, but I find that this is not a stepping stone to other positions. If anything, it does create and put you in a position to be looked at, if you're really shining in that role, for other types of positions where our skill set parlays over nicely. However, for me, when I say I love the role of the EA and I'm proud of the role of the EA, I mean it, because I was able to have a very successful career. And that doesn't mean necessarily financially. I did work in New York, so, you know, the salary band was a little bit more generous. But it meant that I wanted to stay within my role. I didn't want to have to leave it in order to better myself. So I did that. I made the role a little more robust. But I had to do it by getting buy-in from other people that make the decisions about employee movement, one way or the other. So I wanted to have an idea of how some of the leaders, and I would have conversations, just off the record conversations when I could, you know, at the water cooler, just get an idea of what their perception of the EA role was. And there would be some people that didn't really know, you know, they didn't have a straightforward answer. And there's others that say, well, we couldn't live without them, you know, and I'd say, because my scheduling meetings and this and that. But there was never really a conversation that they do so much more than I ever expected that they could do. Meanwhile, they could do so much more. They just never asked, and the executive never asked the EA to maybe do something more, because they're not aware that they could or they should. Human resources was a key part, and this was where I got the red flag that there may be a perception problem here. So I was invited to a meeting because there was some disorganization with the admins within the company, and because I was supporting the highest level of the other EAs, they called me, and HR called me into this meeting. And they were trying to come up with a way that certain workflows could be handled best. And the head of HR, who would be making a lot of the decisions about the administrative team, had suggested perhaps we can do a secretarial pool. And I had to take a breath, and I stopped him right there. And I said, this is my career. as it is for many of the others here. And we're not looking to be put in a bullpen to fetch whatever you're tossing our way to get done. That is not the solution. And I completely put that down, and I was heard, and I said it in a way that was professional and he would still be listening. But I realized right away that I have a long way to go here, but I'm going to do it. So I suggested that we have a roadmap and we look at the EAs within this company with a different light, because they are so valuable, and I need you to listen. And I created a business case for how we can get there. Of course, I was including my executive in on this, our supervising manager. How is your relationship, I asked, with your executive? And a quick test is, are you comfortable when you are around your executive? Would you ask him, her to support your ideas or desire to grow within your role? Stop right there if the answer is no, because you got to, relook at that and really take a breath and realize that this person is very integral to your success, and you not being comfortable on a day-to-day basis is not good for your health, wellness, your mind. It's not good for the executive. The comfort level that you can create between you and your executive, and I hate to say this again, is it's up to us. The executive is not in his office or her office saying, I wonder how I can improve my relationship with my executive assistant. Some may be, because I said we are making strides, we are moving that needle. But for the most part, they probably want a better relationship, a more comfortable relationship, but they don't know how to go about it. But we come because we are so skilled in everything, in every aspect, that we can create that relationship. And at first it might seem like, no, I'm not doing this, but just, you got to take baby steps, because it probably took a little while to get the way it got. It's going to take a little bit to walk it back. And you just start creating something that allows for a freer flow of communication. Because this person is going to be your ally. This person is going to be supportive of your efforts to create a climate for the executive assistant to thrive. And it doesn't mean that they're going to lose you. So that's the one thing you have to tell them. You just want to be able to use some more of your skills so you're a happier employee and you're more valuable to them. Because I found by adding to my responsibilities, by the way I enhanced my role, made me a better employee. It made me a better EA to my boss, because I took something on from another department that became part of my KRA, and I knew much more about the company as a result. So I was even more awesome. It was a win-win. So the way I'm putting it, it's a very broad brush, but the end game is win-win, not only for, of course, us, the most important here, but the company. So the next piece to the pillar, and these are all little puzzle pieces that if they're all kind of syncing and we're touching base with their touch points, are key. Is our own EA team? Is there collaboration and support among the EA team? So all the while I'm working my magic about trying to create a better world for the executive assistants, I'm sharing it and creating, ways for us to engage one another. It was a global company, so we had a group chat, and we were able to put things up. It was more like a Yammer board a couple of years ago. We've come so far since then already. Tomorrow there'll be something even more better and brighter. But we were able to share things that were very valuable to the EA, as well as personal stuff, like the EA in Singapore, who none of us know, but she just had a baby and she posted pictures, and it just makes you more connected to your team. But at the same time, that same EA would have posted a folder with all the hotels and all the car services and all the great restaurants in Singapore. So when the boss is going there, we have it all there together. And I saved an hour by clicking into my EA forum, and it was priceless. And we have that externally as well. I'm sure you see some of the Facebook groups out there that people in EA will type, hey, my boss is going, I did this. My boss is going to New York needs a nice coffee shop near Port Authority that's quiet and private. And I got, something back right away. And my boss was very impressed. And I said, I have a secret weapon, and he was very happy about that. And we are each other's secret weapons. Use them. But your internal team, some will be like, hey, I'm good. I don't want anything to do with what you're doing. I sometimes would take that personally, and then I would have to stop. Like, that's not my problem. That's on them, and that's okay. This is not something that's mandatory. I'm just saying I'm doing it, and I don't want it to be the best kept secret. So I want to create a climate for you to also tap into this as well. And then, finally, of course, how are we playing a role in all of these things happening? Because we're really in the middle of all of this, and it's how we are putting ourselves out there professionally that we can make this happen or not happen. It depends how we're perceived and how we're doing it. So it goes all the way back to when I branded myself of who I am. I get involved with community events. So whenever there was something that we were going to do with employee engagement or some charity work in the community, the head of corporate social response. This, Trish. Yes, I see. And I'm back. All right. Technology. I'm embracing it. So I forgot what I just said, but that's all right. We're just going to keep going here. Thank you, guys. How do we create this climate? I go back to, just lost Trish. I think I'm back, everybody. So hopefully thumbs up.
There's a slight delay, Trish, on Facebook, about 5 to 7 seconds. So you're back, but they might be catching you just as you're coming back, just as a heads up.
Good. So everyone had a little break there, and because I told you I can talk, I can go on and on about this, and I'm always reminding myself to slow down. But I hope this is resonating with most of you, and we'll take time out for questions and feedback. So that conversation, just to go a little deeper with that conversation with your executive, what I was proposing to my executive to create a climate for me to thrive was to take on a responsibility from another department, corporate communications. So what I did was, because I had such interest in that area already, I had asked the head of corporate communications to be my mentor, and I just kept expressing interest in anything corporate comms related. And if they ever had a project that they wanted me to work on and I had the time, please, send it my way. And then eventually I wanted to turn that into something where it was actually part of my job, because it's nice of us to do favors for people. We should do that. Again, anything that we can do to shine a positive light on who we are with the company, we're always trying to bring value to not only our executive, but to the company, so other people as well. But we also don't want that to be, this secret little thing that I'm doing, because I have an extra 10 minutes. That's all fine and dandy, but eventually that's going to backfire. So I wanted this to be something that I was taking on, and it became part of my role. So I asked that it be added to my review, that I would be reviewed on these tasks. And it was the internal corporate newsletter that went globally. I was in charge of that, and a few other ad hoc projects for corporate communications. And it was such a part of my job description, yet I was still the executive assistant to the chief operating officer. This was part of my key points that I was going to be getting reviewed on. And it just changed my world, because I now was able to grow within my position and not have to leave it to do better. And I now put corporate communications on my resume. But this was something that, there was buy-in. HR was familiar with it. It wasn't like we were doing this on the side. This was something that was going to be offered to the other executive assistants. The other leaders saw the advantage of this because by me taking on these, 3 major tasks for corporate comms, they didn't have to hire somebody, and I saved them money. And this was all done with the understanding that the key tasks that I had to do for my C-suite executive would never go undone because I was focusing on this. I was able to manage my time. You know why? Because I loved doing it and it made me happy. So it was never, sometimes it would get overwhelming because of deadlines, and yes, it would be a little frenetic, but at the same time, it excited me and it made me a happy employee, and I stayed with the company until I left the company. But I also talk about coaching only in the sense that it helped me so much to understand what I need to do as an individual to get right with myself, but what I needed externally in order to thrive, and to recognize when that wasn't being provided to me and see if there was something I could do about that. The awareness of the stigma and the stereotype is still a prevailing threat to us. I'm sorry, and that's how strongly I word it. When people just don't understand how pivotal we are to an organization. And unfortunately, it is going to continue to be up to us to do it. To move that needle, to change the way people perceive who we are. And we do that by conversation, and we do that by our own actions. Like, look at me, I'm handling this, I'm handling that, and I'm handling it like a ninja, and I'm not sweating. And yeah, I can do that for you too. And yeah, I'm going to create better relationships with people, and I'm going to make this role so important to the success of this company that people will look differently at the role. Somebody had said to me when I worked at Tata, and I think she thought she was giving me a compliment. She goes, "I don't look at you as an executive assistant." And I'm like, "Why not? I am. I'm a really good executive assistant." And she said, "Oh, well, you just do so many other things." And I said, "Well, that's what we do. There's no limit to what we can handle." So it's just conversations like that. And she was just like, "Wow, I never really thought of it that way." So we need to constantly beat that drum and make sure people aren't just saying just an executive assistant. I always say remove that word just. It's so easy. I don't use just. If I do, I want to put a quarter in the jar about anything. Because if you ever notice when you put just, like, I'm just checking back with you. No, I'm checking back with you. We kind of like diminish ourselves a bit. And so do others when they say just an executive assistant. So again, just continue to correct people nicely, because that's what we are. We're nice. Open to change is so key and necessary for the stakeholders. And again, back to this climate that we're trying to create. We are creating the weather for us. We are creating the weather for us flowers, male and female, to bloom. And we're getting rid of the clouds is the best metaphor I can use for this. And we have to see who's not open to this change, and we have to find out why. So if I was coaching somebody that said that their executive said, not down with this plan, and they felt very defeated. And I said, did you ask why? Because it's okay, you accept their answer, but you deserve a why, because then you can work with that. You might not get what you want right away, but now you know why, because this and that, and you prepare a response to that. Not right at that moment, because you're going to be a little emotional, and you say, thank you for considering my suggestion, and I appreciate the feedback you gave me. And then you can kind of work on and noodle your business case for, let's do this, a little negotiating, whatever it takes to get where you have to get to. training is such an important thing. And I put a text out to one of my favorite EAs that I used to work with at Tata. And I said, if you had to list one of the top things that would create a climate for you to thrive in, what would it be? And she's so thorough. She gave me a very long text because obviously she needs some things. Haven't been there in a couple of years, and I see some of the things I put in place aren't happening for her. But I said the first thing was training for her to really be able to. There's all the other departments within the company seem to have a lot of training provided for them, and the EAs always have to ask for it. That should not be the case. And I remember asking for the budget for the training for EAs at this company, and they said, well, there's no budget, but just let us know what you want to do, and we'll probably approve it. And I was like, no, I would like a budget because I want to be able to plan how many conferences I can go to a year, what other things I can tap into monthly. It would be a lot better to be able to plan that with the budget. Would it be so hard to just give me that budget? So you just keep asking, and you'd get as much information as you can. Again, this is kind of a new concept for some, so it might not be quickly forthcoming, but when you ask why, they usually can't answer that question. And you can usually figure out a way to make it easy for them to give you what you need. Invited to the table. I think this is very, very key. Oftentimes there'll be committees that the company will form, and the example I have, they had a Women at Work committee, and so many companies are doing this, and I think that's great, and that adds to the culture to make it really friendly and inviting for women. However, the committee that was formed, and it was a global committee, had all leadership women on the committee, and I sent an email to my mentor, who is one of them, and asked, why are there no executive assistants on this committee? If you're going to have any diversity in your decision making about the women at work, how are you doing that without our input? No response other than, I put this by the board and you are welcome to join the steering committee. So there you have it. If I didn't ask, they would not have even thought of it. It was not intentional. And it was me kind of just bringing to their attention that, hey, we're here and we have something to say and we would like a voice. So get invited to that table. That's really what I mean by that. Like, yeah, it's nice to get invited to the boss's meetings, but I don't want to go to all my boss's meetings because I have other things that I could do while they're in that meeting. But on occasion, I'd say that topic sounds like something that will help me in my job. I think I'm going to sit in on it. I've never heard no to that. And it helped him because I knew after that meeting some things that needed to be taken care of. And a lot of EAs today go to the meetings automatically, and I think that's great. I always suggest that people, especially people coming into the company new, there seems to be these great emails and press releases and introductions for the high level people coming in to the company, but the EA doesn't get introduced. So I suggest it. First of all, I write it for them and I ask them to send it out. And if they say this isn't our policy, why? They usually don't have an answer, but then they say you're more than welcome to send it yourself. But I think coming from the boss or from HR, it has a little more impact, and I push for that always. And that always opens up the door to so many people coming in, again, making that climate much more enjoyable for the new person so they can right out of the gate be more valuable instead of being this hidden new asset that nobody wants to introduce. I don't really understand that. Recognize and award programs. What a great thing. At first I thought, I don't need a reward for doing my job. That's silly. And then I got a few and I was like, this is awesome. And I love them and I list them. If I'm asked, have you ever received any awards, and I put them down. I think they're great, and there's many companies that do tap into this. If they don't, you as the EA could go online and find award programs for corporate structures and suggest it. It probably costs them a little bit to have the platform, but it's really a nice way, and I would be able to choose a gift card from one of my favorite stores, and I would often get this for booking travel and doing it without anybody not making it where they had to go. They would give me an award for that. We're so talented, aren't we? And the thing I say is so important and gets overlooked oftentimes. I remember somebody interviewing me or something, and they said, what would you give to EAs? If you had to give anything, what would you give to the executive assistant? And my answer was each other. I would give them each other. For us to work in silos and not work with one another, we are doing a disservice in so many ways, and we have to stop doing that. And I know it goes on. It went on in my place, all the things I was trying to do. I had the haters. It's just noise. I'm here to passionately enhance the role of the executive assistant, and by doing so, I'm enhancing my role in my career. So I definitely tapped in and helped and pulled up other EAs and been pulled up by other EAs. And it's just something that is magical when we tap into it. So creating a forum within your own company. Somebody I talked to about it, they said they're doing it and not everybody participates. That's okay. That's always going to happen. But if there's just a few that are benefiting from it and you're examples of how you're benefiting from it, you'll see slowly that people might adopt this idea, especially in this world now where we never see each other. It's really a nice thing to help each other out. And internally and externally, I see it going on all the time, and it blows my mind how united we could be. And anyone that doesn't tap into that, I think they're just really cutting themselves off, because we learn the most from each other, and your leadership team is doing that all the time. They're always collaborating. They're always exchanging ideas. They're always meeting. We don't get that luxury of going on quarterly offsites usually with each other. If the company knew how much money that is compared to the return on investment, they would be doing it all the time. So that would have been my next drumbeat had I stayed at the company, to get them to let us all meet each other once a year to start off. But baby steps, we can get there. But it's just up to us usually, and we could do it. It just starts with a conversation, and you'd be surprised. So I think I'm done. I want to know what everybody's thinking. I want to read every one of these posts and bring back Liz. Hello, Liz.
Hello. That was so wonderful. Thank you so much for walking through that. I think that this is such an important topic. No matter what role you're in, that it's always good to do that sort of, it's almost like a gut check, we forget so often to check in with ourselves and how we feel in our current work environments. And it makes all the difference for how you feel overall and perform the work you do.
It definitely does, and it feels good to do it. And anything that makes us feel good, we ought to be doing it. And I feel good. I feel good doing this. If I'm talking about this role, my head explodes. So I hope everyone's as enthusiastic as I am. And if not, get there, because it's something to really embrace. It's, like I started this off, what is the culture of how you think about yourself? And how are you doing? How we do one thing is how we do everything, so just do it with enthusiasm. Do it with your authentic self. That's the best way to be. Sometimes people are a work person and a out of work person. And I think combine those two people and just be you. And I think that's what got me to be a little more confident when I was stopping trying to be something I wasn't. And I just went in me, and this is me. And hey boss, I come in sometimes and say good morning, and you don't even look up. It's something up here. And he's like, oh, you're one of those? You want a good morning? And we made light of it. And I'm like, yeah, I do actually. It would be nice. And we don't work together anymore, but our relationship went from him being very aloof to we were both separated from the company when they did a reorg in 2018, which was kind of like, but it helped me take my plan B and make it a plan A a little sooner. That's all. But he and I have lunch every month. Because he's still golfing. That's the problem when you work for a C-suite and they get orged out. They usually don't go somewhere else that you can follow them. They go golfing for a couple of years. So I created a relationship, is my point, with him that was almost impossible.
Yeah. Well, we have a few questions, and I know we have about 13 minutes left, so we'll jump right into those. The first one up is from YouTube. What are some examples used for awards or recognition? How often are they awarded? Are they chosen by other EAs or a combination of assistants and executives?
Okay, so the examples, I wish I remembered the name of my platform, but I know there's a ton of them out there. I mean, it was literally something that human resource went to outsource this platform that embedded into our system that we could log into, and we can give awards. Anyone could give them. So in my case, it was sometimes another EA that I helped out and she wanted to recognize that. Or it was and it depended on if you got a high five, which would determine the value of the gift. So I hope that if you Google award programs for organizations, you could probably come up with a few. And if I do remember the name, I'll put it in the package that you guys are going to get, because my brain, not so good memory wise all the time.
Well, when you go live, I feel like I have all these things I want to say, and even if I have them in front of me, you're just your brain fart.
Yeah, totally. I'll hang up and I'll be walking around and say, I meant to say this and that, but I'll put those recollections that when that brain cell becomes alive in a data pack for you. How often are they awarded? I don't believe there was a limit to how many times people could get awarded. So that's a good question. It may depend on the platform itself, if they set it up that, because some guy could get do really well because you're actually getting monetary gift cards. Like I would be able to go on to, they would have every company you can think of. So I think I went on to Anthropology and got myself a little gift card.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It's really well done. And other EAs or a combo of EAs, it was execs. Really, when I planned an epic trip, that a lot of times when the leadership meeting is in your area that you're in the office that you work at, because it was a global company, you're the EA that has to do everything and get their flights all sorted and cars picked up and hotels. And I did it like a ninja. Nothing went wrong. And the CEO sent, probably had his assistant, give Trish an award for that. And again, I was doing my job, but it was recognized and it felt good. So
there's also for like everyday recognition. And apologies if we already talked about this in the chat, but Bonusly is what we use here at Base, and it's great. And you get like a month and allotted points per month to distribute, and it's just a fun, easy, quick way to publicly recognize someone for the work that they're doing to everyone. We have it connected through Slack, so there's like a channel that it goes to. So that's another thing for
don't underestimate the value of recognition by any means.
No matter how big or little. I imagine this next question, this is something that I know we could dive into for a whole other session, but you did touch on this a little bit, establishing your personal brand. Could you ask maybe we start with where folks can start in kind of establishing how they do this? And I know you help coach folks on this as well, right, Trish?
Yeah, I do. I do provide assistance in creating your brand, and I always start off with this worksheet that I got when I was in my coaching school. I went to the Martha Beck Institute for Life Coaching, and they did a whole couple sessions on, as a coach, how are you going to brand yourself? And I took that material and parlayed it over into our world. And what they did was provide a worksheet, which is one of the things that I'll send. Should I send it to you, Liz, a little packet of stuff? And it's a really fun worksheet. So what it
Awesome.
does is ask you to send this out to, you just say, "Dear awesome person, I am in the process of identifying my most useful qualities, attributes, and core values. I'd love to hear your honest feedback on these few short questions below. I appreciate your time in helping me with this project. With gratitude, amazing me." And then there's just a few short questions. What do you see as my top 3 strengths? What are my top 3 qualities? How do you feel when you interact with me? And then you list these highlights and you kind of start getting the starter set for your branding. And don't, as you notice in mine, I mentioned, because I was very known for this, helping out with employee engagement. And so I had a passion for employee engagement and community service. I rolled out the red carpet when my boss had an executive coming on board. Yes, HR did their thing, but it was all very digital, but I really made them feel very welcome. And that started before they even arrived, and they would usually be relocating. So I'd make sure that they had all they need, that their family had their need. Give your wife my number if she needs something. My executive appreciated that so much, because he would hear from the new incoming employee, "Trish was so helpful." So I'm good at that. I like doing that stuff because I know what I would want, and it became part of my brand. So a lot of times people would say, "Oh, so-and-so has an executive coming on board. Can you do your thing?" If you're good at something, you're going to be asked to do it. So beware, beware. Yeah. And I think that'll be a fun thing to do, but I'm happy to, anyone that's on this call wants to reach out to me complimentary, we can work on it together because I love doing it. So we'll put that in the package.
Awesome. I see 2 more questions on here. I think we can crank through. The first one is from Casey on YouTube. When you're the only EA, how does a lot of this play into that when you're running solo?
Well, a lot of this stuff I did almost as if I was the only EA, that it was going to benefit others if there were others. But it was, and yeah, I'm that kind of person that I do think of others. But honestly, when it came to my career and me wanting to improve my career, it was really all about me. So I did all these things with me in mind, and that they would benefit others at some point. I don't know if your company's growing and someday, so you've already laid the groundwork, or if it's a small company and it's just you. And a lot of these things probably would seem like something you can't tap into, but maybe because you're the only one, you're even in a better place. So, why not you?
Right.
I think you could probably look at other areas of the company that make you excited. That's what I did. Corporate communications always made me excited. HR excites a lot of EAs because a lot of our skills parlay over into that. And you can just say, "Hey, can I take on anything here? I'd like to add this to my quiver of skills," if you will, and see how they're open to it. And then eventually roll that into your job description. I hope that answered.
And the last one I saw on here, oh, you guys are popping in the comments. This is great. Here we go. This is from YouTube. This person also said, "By the way, thank you for all your time and answers." Smiley face, all caps. So thank you for joining us today. They would like to know, how can I help staff navigate the major changes our branch and company are going through?
Okay, so how can you, as the EA, you could be their roadmap. This sounds like an opportunity to me. I'm not really sure exactly, but it sounds like there's a lot of things happening within your company right now, and you want to help the company navigate through these changes. We're the change masters. If something's changing, we can adapt. So we can share this skill with others, because some people push back from change, and maybe just see where you can play a role in helping people navigate these major changes. And also be the ear. I'm not sure if you work for the top exec at the company, but we keep that person informed, which was another key role I played. People felt like they could talk to me, and I wouldn't go into the executive and say, so-and-so is not happy, but I'd say there's a climate issue over here and you might want to address that, and just inform them of valuable information about their staff, of concerns. And I hope that I answered that, but you can always email me if you need more information on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trish. This has been absolutely fantastic. Everyone, it looked like we had a ton of new people here today. Thank you so much for joining. I saw like almost half of you joined about 10 minutes in. So if you're new to BASE, we are the first ever platform built for assistants. We do have a free version. We encourage you to go ahead and sign up, and you can do that at app.basehq.com. And we have a ton of different resources available to you. If you check out our website, basehq.com, we have these free weekly events where we host folks like the wonderful Trish here. We have quarterly summits. We just had our last quarterly summit on March 10th, but all of those recordings are available in our Facebook group and our YouTube. So if you're watching on our YouTube channel, just hit subscribe and you'll get alerted when we have new videos and new events.
Wow, I got all the feels, you guys. This was amazing. I love all these. Somebody picked up on my ninja, and that happened in another talk I did, so I might have to get t-shirts made, because we calendar like ninjas. I mean, travel expenses calendar, that is a skill. Embrace it. Don't ever let anyone diminish it, but add to it if you want. There's so much more that we can do out there for the company, and it will make you feel good about what you're doing. I promise you. So I don't know. I could go on all day. That went really fast. And
I know, it always does.
See you all again. And BASE, thank you for everything you're doing for the executive assistant world. I am shouting it from the rooftops. I'm like, they designed a software for us. They're like giddy over it. So I hope, I hope everyone's taking advantage of that. I'm just one man show. So I have Mallory emailed me because I'm like, can I use this just for me? And because I want to use it. I want to use it. And I will. All right. I'll be quiet now.
No, I could talk to you forever. I love you.
I love you too.
We will do, I think we'll definitely have you back. I know that we're going to plan another summit, so we'll definitely bring Trish back, because everyone's super, just had a great time today. And thank you all
we'll
so
have
much.
we'll have everyone come with their branding worksheets, and we'll see what we come up with, or something like that. And we'll do the t-shirt. Somebody's like, they'll buy the t-shirt. So yeah.
Great
Have
idea.
a great
I love
weekend, everybody. A great week. Stay in touch with me. Get me on LinkedIn. I'm here for you, because I love you. I do.
Thank you so much.